Welcome back to The Grind. After my recent video on how to fix my base with the advice that I gave to a player who had built too many towers and had them at lower levels, then I got a lot of requests for the same thing to be done for other players. Now, I do want to do more of these. Unfortunately, I cannot do all of them, and I will probably not do ones that are very similar in nature to ones that I did previously. I will do my best to pick some, and I'll do my best to help you out if you send me pictures of your base online, or if you message me in game so I can check out your base and send you back some feedback. I'll do my best to help as many as possible, but as far as making these videos, it will most likely be sticking to ones that I feel could have the biggest impact on teaching other players some key components about building their base. So this player is level 296 and they have towers at level 57. You can see they've got 5 on their kill island there, so they built their island quite well. And then on the first island, they have a level 57 howitzer. So that's a 6th tower that is at max level. And then they have a fire flak, a level 53 fire flak, which is close to max level compared to all the other ones and for the level. So this player's question was, I don't know if I should transition to a long base yet, but I really want to. So when looking at the towers that are available, as I discussed in my other video, a lot of times when you have 6 or 7 max towers, they will work together better if they're all on the same island, because it's a lot easier to take out 2 to 5 strong towers if they're separated in groups. And it's a lot harder if you have to deal with all of them at the same time. And especially with the new towers like the howitzer with the long range that will deal damage at the same time as the towers on the front island, it can be very useful, especially when storm towers activate from quite some range as well. So this was the initial advice that I gave. Now, it may look a little confusing from this view, but basically I recommended taking all his main 5 towers that he already had on his kill island to put them on the front of the long kill island, which is island 4 and 5. So island 5 is where the main 5 towers were placed. Then I recommended moving the howitzer over to the front of island 4, as well as the fire flak up to the front of island 4 as well. So it will start to fire earlier on, since it will be a higher damage dealing because it's closer to max level. Then that red mage on the back of island 1, we might as well use that. So put it onto the back of island 5. It will protect most of that island. And finally, that storm tower that he has between the mage towers, if you slide that over onto island 5 as well, right in the middle there, it will activate fairly early on and can make attackers trip up if they're not prepared to deal with it. So this is what they initially had sent with their changes. You can see how they did it. They set it up basically what I had recommended. The only difference was they put the storm and the howitzer in slightly different spots. And so what I told them was, this is a perfectly reasonable setup, and depending on your experience with defending dragons and what you're being attacked with, this might be just fine. But my preference is actually this, and I'll explain why that is. With the storm tower on the front of the island there, it will activate sooner than if it's in the middle. The fire flak is important to have that coming into play as soon as possible, but my personal preference is that the howitzer activates from the front of island 4, because then it will be dealing damage and hitting the dragon right after the ice flak super shot hits him. Because the ice flak, in the position that it's at there on the back island, the very first shot when the dragon comes in range is not the super shot, but the second shot is. And so it disables the dragon with its second shot, and that is right when the howitzer will hit the dragon, so it will not be able to use a defensive spell. And if they already had like a shield active, the ice flak will get rid of it. So that is why I like the howitzer up on the front of that island there. And you could move the storm and the fire flak if you wanted, but my preference would be to do that with those towers. Now, the blue and the red mage. The problem with the red mage being in the corner is that it does not protect the tower in the other corner, which would be the earth flak. So you could argue that you want your earth flak protected, and then you could move the earth flak and the dark flak and have the dark flak, which is exposed by the corner of the red mage not quite covering it. And that is actually what I would probably do. And I don't think I mentioned that to this player, so I'll have to reach out to them again if they don't see this video. But the Earth Flak is more important to keep alive, so I would keep it under the Red Mage and basically swap the Dark Flak and Earth Flak, because the Dark Flak is going to get its shot off very early. And if it hits the dragon, that's great. They probably can't dodge it, even if they target the tower first. If they don't hit the dragon, it's usually one of the first towers that go down because they focus on the Dark Flak. However, because the Earth Flak is protected, they'll probably have to go after the Earth Flak first, and that means the Dark Flak might actually get a couple shots off, even though it's not protected by the Red Mage. But then the big question is, why not leave the Red Mage in the middle so that it protects all the towers? Well, my personal preference is that a Blue Mage be present on the front of an island, preferably the very front row, but if not, then in the middle. And if it's in the back, then it is very easy for dragons to use one of their spells to destroy the Blue Mage, cloak or protect themselves using a blue spell, and then have the Blue Mage destroyed before it actually disables their spell, or it disables it and they can reactivate it again. When it is on the front or middle of the island, it is much harder to do that with a what some people call blinking, with a blue spell when the Blue Mage is in the front. So I prefer to have a Blue Mage in the front because it makes the base a lot more difficult for even the skilled flyers who can use the blue spells more effectively. One of the downsides to this is that there is no perch along the side of these islands. You can still get the benefit from your dragon and rider that you have on your perch, but the perch itself will not be dealing damage alongside your towers. Now, if you have an extra 2 or 3 towers or more that are actually benefiting your kill island, then it's worth it to not have the perch available on this long island. But the other thing to consider is that means you have to have your second perch at least level 30, I think it's level 30, in order to get the maximum bonus from the stats of the dragon and the rider, which you are putting on your perch, and that includes the benefit from your gear. So if you do not have your second perch at level 30, in order to get the max benefit from your dragon, rider, and gear that you put on the perch, you are not ready to transition to a long island. So if you're thinking about doing this, then you want to plan that perch upgrade into your next fortification event at the time that you're deciding to make this transition. The other thing to consider is if you've put a lot of good runes on your base already, on the first couple monuments so that they benefit the first 3 islands, in order to maintain the strength of the towers that you're moving, you also have to remove those runes and move them over to the new island, which does cost a lot of rubies depending on how many runes you've put on there. If you have since then got better runes and you haven't put them on yet, then it would be great timing just to move the towers over and apply the runes. Or if you think you're going to transition soon, just keep your better runes in your stash for now, so that when you do move, you don't have to remove the old runes. You can just put the better runes on the new monument so that they will benefit your new kill island. The other thing a lot of people don't like is when they make the transition, they appear to have lower defensive power. Now, a couple reasons why you might actually have weaker towers is, again, if you don't have the same or equal runes once you transition, or if you're not getting the full benefit from your rider and gear and dragon that you put on your perch. But if those are all the same, then I don't really understand exactly why your defense power would drop. It should be roughly the same, but defense power in and of itself is not really a valuable guide. In and of itself, defense power means nothing. A base with 20 billion defense power could have a ton of non-maxed towers spread throughout their whole base and be very weak. And so that is why defense power isn't important. You have to look at what level the towers are, and then depending on what level the towers are, you can judge if their defense power is high for their tower level or low for their tower level. And so if you make the transition and you're sad about losing like 10 or 15 million defense power, most likely your base is still going to be stronger because you have more towers at the max level that are interacting together as opposed to separately when you were on your previous setup. So that basically is it for this video. I don't have a picture of the final product of this base because they had to revert it back since they weren't quite ready with the second perch. So they're going to do that with the next fortification event, and hopefully they'll give me some feedback on how they're liking their base once that transition is fully made. But I do think that they are going to be happy having that extra howitzer interacting with those 5 main towers, as well as that storm tower that activates a little bit delayed while the dragon is still interacting with the first 5 towers. Then that storm tower can really cause some issues. So I'm excited to hear feedback from them, how they like the change once it happens, and if it's working for them. Let me know your thoughts on this base and the things that I discussed in this video. And if you have a unique situation about you need your base to be fixed, let me know in the comments, reach out to me online with some pictures, or message me in game. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.